Woman, this is the part no one protected you from. D. They told you independence meant never needing anyone. They told you power meant being desired, not being known. They told you safety meant leverage. So you learned how to curate, extract, perform, and withhold, and called it self-worth. You didn't lose your ability to bond because you're broken. You lost it because everything trained you to commodify yourself. Gold diggerism wasn't empowerment. It was a trap. They glamorized it. Secure the bag. Marry up. Never struggle. Use what you have. And nobody warned you that transactional love hollows the soul. When affection becomes currency, desire becomes performance, and intimacy becomes a negotiation, your nervous system never relaxes. You're not bonding, you're managing risk. And then you wonder why. Attraction dies. Resentment grows. Softness disappears. Trust never lands. Because love cannot bloom where power is the priority. The other extreme was just as destructive. Then came the whiplash. Be a traditional wife. Submit. Stay soft. Don't question. Serve the structure. So women stepped into aesthetic obedience. Roles they never consented to emotionally, only cosmetically. They baked bread on camera while swallowing their rage. They smiled through resentment and called it femininity. You can't bond when your spirit is shrinking to fit a role. Submission without safety is not love. Tradition without agency is not devotion. Silence without choice is not peace. Social media turned women into brands. You weren't encouraged to develop emotional literacy. You were encouraged to develop market value. Be hotter, be younger, be quieter, be richer, be softer, be rarer, be less human. So now, self-worth fluctuates with attention. Attraction feels unsafe. Aging feels like a threat. Men feel like judges or resources. And bonding requires being human without metrics. You can't bond when you're constantly auditing yourself. Pride hit women different, but just as deadly. Women's pride looks like, I don't need anyone. Men are replaceable. I'll never settle. I'll always have options. So repair never happens. Reflection never happens. Vulnerability never happens. Every rupture becomes a proof of independence. Every boundary becomes a wall. Every disappointment becomes a gender war. You didn't become free. You became emotionally unreachable. Here's the part that stings. You don't want a provider. You don't want a dominant man. You don't want a simp. You don't want a project. You want emotional safety without loss of self. But you were never taught how to. Ask without controlling. Receive without guilt. Soften without disappearing. Love without keeping score. So connection feels dangerous. Dependence feels humiliating. Attachment feels like failure. And loneliness masquerades as standards. Men and women were pushed into mirror traps. Men were taught, never bend. Women were taught, never rely. So everyone stands rigid, armed with pride, waiting to be chosen, while refusing to be seen. This isn't incompatibility. It's mutual emotional starvation. The exit isn't shame. It's unlearning. Unlearn being a brand. Unlearn being a role. Unlearn being a strategy. Bonding requires humility. Emotional risk. Repair. Presence. Curiosity. Not leverage. Not performance. Not superiority. Love isn't submission. Love isn't extraction. Love is co-regulation and courage. Final line, read it slow. If you cannot be soft without feeling stupid, receive without feeling weak, or attach without feeling trapped, you were trained to survive, not to love, and survival will never feel like home.